I'm a high efficiency human being. I don't need to go poop every day. Well, I don't care how high efficiency you are. You don't run on garbage. And if you ain't getting it out, you're running on garbage. So is constipation a big deal? Absolutely. Let's talk about the gut first, because obviously it seems like a gut issue. Constipation leads to enlarging of the colon, where you can create pockets, diverticulitis, that can lead into types of Crohn's disease and other bowel diseases, and can lead into more higher probability of polyps and cancer. So what happens is the colon is that big around normally, but then you get constipation and then it stretches and gets bigger. But it doesn't get uniformly bigger, it gets bigger in sections. When we talk about that, we create these pockets in the bowel because there's tendons and ligaments that are holding the bowel together, right? And so what happens is this right here. Look at that, cool sticking out. The large intestine enlarges in pockets like this, and food then gets stuck here as the bowel material then moves on. And what's easier for bowel material to move through? A smooth, straight tube or a bumpy, rigid tube? That's the point. Constipation leads into bigger issues. So your colon gets backed up, and then there's this little valve called your ileocecal valve between your small and large intestine. And then that valve doesn't close all the way. And then food is moving back and forth between your small and large intestine. That upsets the rhythm. And then over time, that upsets the rhythm further up and can have effects on gall function, gallbladder function, or gall function, and the stomach itself. And then people are then experiencing heartburn also, and hiatal hernias. And that's not the only cause of those, but they contribute a lot to that. Now, what about somebody with, let's look a little bit beyond the gut, toxin reabsorption? Autoimmune disorders are all aggravated. So if you have psoriasis, rheumatoid psoriasis, eczema, lupus, all autoimmunes will be aggravated by the toxicity level, and you're going to be more inflamed, more uncomfortable, and not feel well. So how many bowel movements should we be having a day? Similar in the previous video, we talked about you want about 2. Every once in a while, if it's not a regular thing, you only have 1 a day, that's okay. But really, we should be having 2 a day. If you're having 3 a day, that's okay. More than 3, we're going to call that diarrhea. And diarrhea is not good because a lot of times you get liquid bowel that moves through too quickly, and the foods are moving through the digestive stage too quickly. And then so we're not digesting foods, we're not getting our nutrients. And the probiotics in your gut are not happy either. They're being washed out. And then we also leave behind food particles. Some people can have diarrhea and still have impactation in the walls of the intestine. The water, the fluid moves through so fast that there's still stuff stuck on the walls of the intestines, and that begins to putrefy. And so the consistency of the bowel material has a lot to do with keeping the bowel lining healthy, because you need the right consistency to push everything out and get rid of it. And if you guys have watched my other videos, you know that the liver is my favorite organ. It's my favorite organ to treat. It's my favorite organ to nourish and feed and eat for, because it fixes so many problems. It dramatically improves blood sugar when your liver's doing better, hormones, detoxification, all kinds of stuff. So let's talk about the liver. When you're reabsorbing toxins from your food or the junk that you're trying to eliminate, so your liver dumps it into the intestinal tract, says, I don't want this garbage, let's get rid of it. And it sits too long in the colon, it reabsorbs and immediately goes straight back to your liver. And when it goes into your liver, you starve your body for sulfur compounds that build your joints. So your joints start to suffer and inflame and break down. You're 45 years old and you're like, why is my knee wearing out? Well, because you've lived half of your life with your liver in a chronic detox phase, where it's repeating phase 2 detox, sucking up all that sulfur, and none of that sulfur is getting over to your joints and your knees are screaming. I've had clients where we fix the liver and their knee pain goes away. In a month, it's gone. And they're like, I had no idea it was my liver. Why hasn't anybody told me? The knee or shoulder or joint pain can be from the liver, because it's stuck in a repetitive detox cycle. So we need to break the constipation so the liver can get rid of its junk and then the body can do what it's supposed to. So what are the common triggers? We're gonna get to this and we're gonna figure out what's going on. Dehydration is a big one. I had one gal, she came to me, she was 80 years old, right? 80, main concern, constipation and migraines. I said, okay, how much water are you drinking a day? I don't drink water. Okay, how much liquid do you drink? I have 2 glasses of orange juice, one for breakfast, one for lunch. And well, and she's like, that's it. That's all I have. Maybe I have a drink when I brush my teeth at night. And I said, okay, I need you to do this for a month. I want you to drink 2 quarts of water a day. 2 quarts of water generally, probably not enough for most people, but 2 quarts of water. And she wasn't going to give her orange juice. She said, and so, okay, 2 glasses of orange juice, 2 quarts of water, get that down. And she's like, that is so much water. I'm like, do it for a month. Come back and see me. And she did. And she thought I was a miracle worker. No migraines, no constipation. She just wasn't drinking water. Mind blowing. This is the one everybody loves. Lack of fiber. So, yeah, you could use a fiber supplement, psyllium husks or something like that. But God provided this really cool thing that we go out and pick from our garden. It was called a vegetable, and they sell them at the supermarket. Vegetables have a lot of fiber, and we're going to go more into that. Now, people say, well, I eat whole wheat bread. And I'm like, okay, yeah, whole wheat bread does have fiber in it, but it's not enough of what we would call vegetable fiber, and it's different. So the vegetables are going to make a huge difference and play a better role in relieving constipation. So that's something to consider also. Fruits have fiber in it. We just want to make sure we're not going to overdo our sugar intake in a day because that can have negative side effects. So eat fruit, eat them in your food order. If you don't know what the food order is, then we need to educate you on food order. That's vegetables, ideally in this order, vegetables and your proteins and fats. Then you're going to leave all your sugary fruits, carbs and sugars and starches at the tail end of your meal. Processed foods and sugary drinks. A lot of your processed foods have had those fibers ripped out of them. Sugary drinks contribute to candida and yeast overgrowth. They burden the liver. Sugar comes down the pipeline and the body says, we got to do something about it. Liver, hey, we need some help from you. Takes the sugar, starts turning it into cholesterol and fat, and it doesn't do the rest of its job. It's not producing bile to help regulate the digestive tract like it should. It becomes fatty, becomes lazy. Sugar drinks, not great. Low magnesium. Guess what burns up magnesium, folks? Yeah, it was the sugar that we just binged on. Stress, physical, emotional, and sugar just burns your magnesium up. And where do we get magnesium in our environment? Well, we get a lot of it in vegetables. It is in your grains. It is in your meat. Most of the time, deep leafy greens. Any other vegetables have some magnesium. But then actually real salt. Did you know that sea salt and Redmond real salt have a lot of magnesium in it? They also have your other minerals too. A lot of people ask me, why are we needing to supplement with so much magnesium? Well, you're eating refined carbs and you're having refined sugars and you're stressed out and you're using a lot of caffeine that makes the body feel stressed out. Poof, there goes your magnesium. A magnesium supplement is actually really good, and it's really hard to get too much. As you're approaching too much, most times, unless you have a condition, a specific medical condition for your heart, which is not very common, and a lot of medical conditions for hearts do like magnesium. You don't have to really worry about overdoing it. You start low and slowly work up to something that's a comfortable dosage for you. We'll go over more of that. That's in our constipation protocol. Check that out. And then gut imbalances like yeast overgrowth and not enough probiotics to keep the yeast in balance. And so toxicity levels are starting to rise. Okay. Those are most likely triggers. Now, there can be other things that people are much more rarely born with. Some people are born as a birth defect, too much bowel itself. And the bowel is like binding up on itself. And that's super rare. It's not most of you. You're going to have imaging to see if that's your issue. And they just go in and bisect the bowel, take a foot out or whatever you need. I had a cousin that had this issue, and he had about 12 foot extra compared to most humans. He had that shortened up, and wow, big deal for him. So don't worry too much about that. That's not everybody's problem most of the time. Okay, so we've just identified some of the triggers. We're going to go into diet and lifestyle next, and we're going to just hammer that one out, and it's going to give you a lot of good ideas. Most people, I find, it's just one or two simple things that they need to integrate in their lifestyle, and they change, and they feel much, much, much better. It's worth the time. If you suffer with constipation and you feel like it's affecting your health in other ways, go ahead and feel free to leave a comment. I'd love to look over them and see what kind of things you feel are being affected by the constipation scenario. If you want to go ahead and download my protocol for constipation, it's in the description. You can check that out and utilize that. But let's go into our lifestyles in our next video. Join me. I get it, new habits, and the kids can be stubborn, but you can't expect to have good digestion and live on top ramen alone.